This is The Bottom Line, a show designed to help Australian businesses succeed. On the show, you'll hear from leading Australian business owners as they share the lessons they've learned building their companies. You'll learn from their successes as well as some of the challenges they faced along the way. We also talk to experts from a range of fields who share specialised techniques you can use to improve your business. I'm your host, Savan Tuna, and I'm a director at Alexander Spencer, and I'm really passionate about helping Australian businesses succeed. Sales has long been dominated by scripts, stages, and activity metrics. But many leaders are starting to realise the old playbook no longer delivers real performance. So what does it take to build a sales team that actually wins, not just looks like it does? Today on The Bottom Line, we're joined by Andrew Phillips, CEO of ImpactWon. After walking away from a high-performing sales career, Andrew has rebuilt the way sales teams operate. We explore the four forces behind the right to win and why they outperform traditional process-driven sales models. Andrew breaks down how systems thinking helps leaders diagnose the real problems behind declining revenue. And we explore the future of sales, what organisations must change now to avoid getting left behind. Let's dive in. Andrew, thank you so much for joining me on The Bottom Line today.
Fantastic to be here, Savan. Thank you very much for the invite.
We've spoken a little bit. Most of it has been online, so I get to meet you in the flesh. So I'm really excited about that. We've done over 100 episodes, and this is the first episode we're actually going to dive deep into sales. Wow. And so I'm really excited. I love sales, so it's a topic that I'm really into. We've done a lot on marketing, advertising, branding, but not sales. So I'm really excited to have you.
Well, it's great to be here to have a talk about sales because sales brings together all that marketing, the advertising, all the hard work you do around product development, product fit placement, all that stuff doesn't happen until you go and sell something. So it's great.
I agree. Well, let's dive into Andrew. You've written books, you've built businesses, and you've got a new venture that you're going to be rolling soon. But take us through your sales journey, how you became an expert in sales.
Yeah, well, it's a really interesting story, and a lot of people get a bit surprised when I say, I think my selling career started when I was a policeman. So I was a police officer in the Australian Federal Police for about 13 or so years, and one of the things that I found there was you had to really have a very comfortable conversation with people to ensure that they would actually divulge and tell you things about what had been going on in their lives, and you needed to make it valuable to them to go and do that. And so as a police officer and you do those interviews of people, you needed to give them a reason why they would tell you about what had been going on. And that was where my selling journey started. And so from that point onwards, I got into selling. I owned a scuba diving store and sold scuba diving equipment, scuba diving courses in Canberra, and then we started a second store down at Bateman's Bay on the far south coast. And then after I sold those stores, I got into the IT industry and fell straight into selling there. And I found that there were similar components the whole way along selling, and I also found there was a lot of fallacies in selling, and I over the time sort of developed up my own approach to what this was, and that culminated then 10 years or so, 15 years later, writing the book CEO-Led Sales.
Yeah, the CEO-Led Sales. So we're going to dive into that a little bit. So before we dive into the frameworks of sales, we know sales and revenue is the lifeline of businesses, but why do you think business owners sometimes don't put emphasis on sales training, focusing on sales conversions? Is it something that's just think that it's just done naturally? Why do you think that there's not enough? Why did it take me 100 episodes to get you on? Why are we not talking about sales more?
Well, I think that there's a few reasons to support why people are reluctant to sort of deeply dive into sales. In some areas, sales has got a bad name. We all sort of talk about, he's a used car salesman. He's a shonk. He would sell ice to Eskimo, those sorts of things. And I think people are reluctant to get in there and engage in selling. But at the end of the day, nothing happens until something gets sold. And selling is really just an education. You educate the client around what you've got for them to buy is going to help them have a better outcome. And I think most of us do it quite naturally, but we can all have frameworks and support mechanisms that make it more structured, more predictable, and very much when you grow your business and you've got more than just yourself as a salesperson, you've got a framework across your business that gives you that regularity and the ability to change one thing and affect many things at the same time.
And let's dive into those frameworks. What are the frameworks that you teach? You've got, the 4 C's: credibility, capability, commitment, and control. What do you mean by that, and how does that change the way salespeople show up? Let's talk about these frameworks and let's unpack it all.
Yeah, look, you mentioned credibility, capability, commitment, and control, and I sort of start to smile a bit because that's our framework, right?
Yep,
That's our
let's do it.
proprietary methodology, and it's so simple. There's no one that can't remember those 4 words: credibility, capability, commitment, and control. And while they are used in our context to sales, they're actually just human terms.
Yeah.
Everyone wants to be credible. Everyone wants to know that what they are selling to the client, they're capable of delivering. Everyone wants to know that there's a 2-way commitment between you and the client, and everyone wants to understand why their solution is going to really solve the client's need, and that's the control portion. So these aren't just general sales, these aren't specific sales terms. You'll listen to a lot of podcasts on selling, and they'll tell you, here are the 3 ways to handle objections. Our methodology, we don't believe in that. We believe if you work on your credibility with a client, and then you work on capability, commitment, and control, they will naturally take you down the path of giving a great outcome to the client that will then deliver, obviously, a positive outcome back to you. And within those 4 C's, there is a structure that enables you to know where you're going. And so we say credibility is made up of knowledge and trust. So you go in and talk to a client, how knowledgeable are you with the client's local, regional, global businesses? How trustworthy are you? These are great terms. These aren't traditional terms that you associate with sales, but these are traditional terms that you associate with good business consulting, good ideas like that. And so we look at this and we've worked through and we've found that when you implement the 4 C's methodology, you've got a universal right to win score across your business. You have the ability to score each one of your deals and say, these are the deals that are working best for us. These are the deals that have got a problem. And you can say, so where are we low? Oh, we're low in control on this deal. What are we going to do as a team to lift the control score, which will lift the overall score? So this methodology, whether it be a small product sale you're doing or $100 million outsourcing sale you're doing, it works equally as well because they are good, solid human terms.
Yep. And is there differences between how you approach sales, whether it's a product versus a service? I always say services sometimes can be quite unique in the sale because you can't touch it, you can't feel it. So sometimes selling that product or credibility or can be quite challenging in a service-based business. So you might need some testimonials or case studies. Can you take us through the differences? Are there differences between product and services, and how do we overcome them?
Well, I think clearly, and I agree with you, a service can sometimes not have a solid foundation, and that you need to be able to articulate what a client will feel like. And I say, what would the client feel like Monday morning after you finish delivering the service on Friday afternoon? How will they feel? What will they achieve? And with a product, you can sort of put your hands around it. But if you follow the same framework and you say, how am I going to meet and exceed this client's need? And whether it's with a service or a product, you are able to break down the components of what the client has. And so we have an engagement excellence framework, and we look at 3 things. We look at what's the client's strategic imperatives? What are they trying to solve in the marketplace? What are they doing? Where are their big goals, their 3 to 5 year goals? With your business planning that you do with your clients, the first thing you would work with them is, where do you want to be in 3 to 5 years' time?
Correct.
And that's a strategic imperative. We've got to do that. And then everything else fills in underneath it. Now, whether you need a service or a product to deliver on that strategic imperative, you slot it in and you put it in the right place, and that's where selling comes in. So we'll come and work with a client and say, where are your strategic imperatives? We'll do the investigation, we'll find that out, and then we'll say, so if you're going to be there in 3 years' time, here's the first step. We need to work with you to do this, and then this, and then this. And that becomes very logical to the client because they see that you're on the same journey that they're on, as opposed to coming in and having a conversation with a client, whether it's about a product or a service, coming in and sort of a pretty term we use is you show up and throw up. You just keep talking and talking and talking to the client until you stumble upon something the client wants to buy. And that's just a terrible old school way of selling. Do your research, work out where the client wants to be in 3 to 5 years' time, look at what you've got in your kit bag, whether it's a product or service, and then say, right, this is how this can be tailored to suit their need today, and then how would that suit the client's emerging needs over the years? Because what they need today will not be what they need tomorrow, but they need to buy something today. So you then tailor that outcome to suit their long-term needs, and then that gets you on the journey with them. And it's very, very powerful.
And when it comes to a client or a customer thinking about a product or a service that they're going to buy, they may not know that they need it yet. They're maybe just Googling or searching, or they just stumble across this and it's like, oh, you need this for that. So take us through the marriage of the need versus the result. And if someone doesn't really know that they need that yet, is it just too early yet to sell? How do we take that client or customer through that journey of, you need our services, you don't know it yet, but I need to articulate it to you. Well, you're not ready to buy. So there's this journey of that. Is that marketing or is that sales? How do we do that?
Well, look, that's sales. Definitely sales with a bit of marketing thrown in. I think that it's really challenging to draw a big line between marketing and sales because I think they have these concurrent roles. Well, you know, if you're selling, then you need to do a bit of marketing. And you sell and you do a bit of marketing. You do a bit of marketing, then you sell to that.
Yeah.
So one of our pieces of research is that clients have never been more informed today of what their needs and requirements are than ever before.
Correct.
And so we say the birth of the informed client is the death of the uninformed seller. So if the seller doesn't inform themselves about what the market's doing into the future, they'll never be able to have that conversation with a client about saying, now, right now, you have these needs, but into the future, our research shows you'll have these needs. And the reason why you should buy this today is it's going to set you up for those future needs. And we call them stepping stone deals. We say these are littler deals that you sell it to a client and they help you step along to the big deal, which we call bedrock deals, right? And so this is the bedrock deal. So you can talk to a client and say, into the future, you are going to need these particular products and services. But along the way, to get you underway on that journey, we think you should have these. And this creates, we call it, and Simon Sinek has a great term. He's got the continuum, right?
Yep.
And he says there's no such thing as a start, a middle, and an end in a client engagement. You are on a continuum. The only thing that changes is the people in it, but the relationship or the engagement continues on. And that's how we sell, and that's how we encourage our clients to sell, to look into the future. Don't think there's a finish point in the deal. Educate your client will educate you. Ensure that you're always delivering on client needs, not your own needs, and your own needs will be looked after because you're looking after your client's needs.
Yeah. Take us through a client that you've worked with. Let's go through a live story. Let's bring a story to life where a client that you've worked with, where you coached them and implemented the 4 C's, implemented your frameworks, where they went from A to B, they got this success story, they onboarded. Take us through a journey of how they got from not being great at sales and now being great at it.
We've got a great story, and we just released our new website, and there's a bit of a quote from our client on that website. And this was all about the fact that he didn't have a common language across his business. He wasn't able to ensure that when his people came together that they were speaking the same language. Our 4 C's methodology enables a single sales language in the business. And he now has seen, he said, I've always had a great team. My team are marvelous, but now my team are marvelous and they're talking the same language. And so I can have a conversation with a seller in the hallway and say, what's your right to win the deal? And the right to win score could be 65 as an example. Now that for us, a right to win score of below 80 is a low right to win. A right to win score above 80 is a high right to win. Now, in that particular instance, he would say, so where are you low? We're low on commitment. What can I do to help you drive commitment? And he has found that it breaks down silos in his business, because now everyone comes together. Because I can be talking to you, Savan, about a deal, and I go, I'm low on credibility. You say, what can I do to help you? So we're in different parts of the business. We break down between finance, we break down between marketing, we break down between sales, because people come together and it gives you a purpose for going and meeting and selling. That's the biggest thing that he's seen in his business: common language, an ability to work instantly on deals and fix the problems that are there on the deals. He's seen an increase in his win rate, and really importantly, a decrease in his cost of sales. And that decrease in your cost of sales goes straight to your bottom line. You know, in your business, you know, you spend a lot of time pursuing the wrong deals. You're consuming your people's time and effort, and you never knew they were the wrong deals, when the right deals were sitting in front of you all the time and you didn't pursue them. So really, really costly mistake pursuing the wrong deals.
One of the things that at Alexander Spencer we do is we don't have a sales team. So we actually have hired accountants and the technical people. They have different sort of profiles, personality profiles. And generally, technical people aren't trained to be salespeople. It generally comes within. Same with sort of legal firms, architecture firms, engineering firms. Most of these type of service-based type of firms may have some marketing money. They might have a website. They might spend some money on marketing and branding. They generally have the partners or the senior people selling.
Yes.
And I find that in our accounting industry, a lot of our businesses don't have a sales team or don't invest in sales. What would I need to do to boost sales language, implement the sales thinking, the frameworks in my business? Do I need to teach people to become better salespeople, or should I just hire professionals that know this stuff to grow it? So what are your thoughts on business owners that don't invest in sales? Do I get technical people to and teach them, or do they get professionals and build out a sales team?
That's a really interesting question. Our experience has shown in the consulting style industries, accounting, legal, engineering, and the like, you have a consulting approach. You want to work with your clients. We have found that hiring salespeople into those industries doesn't necessarily work, because your clients, when you go and speak to them, they want someone that actually knows the discipline that your firm brings. Your firm brings accounting discipline. They don't want to talk to a salesperson who just wants to sell them something. And so we have found universally that implementing the 4 C's, credibility, capability, commitment, and control, as I said earlier on, they are human terms. They are terms that people don't need to associate with sales. So if one of your accounting professionals is going to have a conversation with a client and they start thinking about credibility, right, what's my knowledge and trust in this area? Capability, have I actually delivered accounting services to a company in this industry, in this region before? Is this client currently buying from me? You know, it's really challenging to go and step up to a client that's never bought anything from you to sell them a complete package of services. So you really need to be selling them something maybe a bit smaller to start with. Let us do a review of your books. Let us do a quick review there. And the client says, they did a great job of that. They've made that better for me. So now I'll trust them with some more. So it's that step at a time. But we solidly recommend that if you're a business and you don't have salespeople now, don't jump into hiring salespeople. Jump in, get your 4 C's sorted out, get that as a common framework across the business. And we find that when you review holistically, we've got one board that uses the 4 C's as one of their first measurements to measure the health of their organisation.
Okay.
So instead of looking at the 4 C's on a deal-by-deal process, look at the 4 C's across your enterprise. And we find really interesting things. We find sometimes that credibility is low across the entire enterprise. And what that tells us is your executives aren't getting out of their office enough to go and meet with their counterparts in your client base. Sometimes you find the control score low. And what that tells us is your team don't understand what's unique about you. So by fixing credibility or control or commitment or capability, you fix it for many deals. So you don't just fix one thing in one deal. You fix one thing in your business and it fixes 20 deals straight away. And that's the powerful thing. No other sales methodology does that. All these other sales methodologies, if I can indulge myself, they're built in the 1980s in the US. They're built on activity and rah-rah. They're not built on impact and outcomes.
And what about relationships? I mean, you kind of touched on that, going out there, not being in your office. If I've got existing clients, customers, it could be a restaurant that has regular customers. It could be an accounting firm that has clients that come back to them. How do we nurture those existing customers? Is it relationship-led? Is it product-led? How do we nurture the people that are already fans of our organizations, and what sales techniques can we apply for taking those clients that might spend a little bit to then spend more?
That's great. Now, we're a bit radical here. We try and avoid using the word relationship.
Okay.
Yeah. Our experience shows relationships cost revenue, right? So the deeper you are in the mates rates and the relationship, it costs money. So we look at credibility and engagement. What are we doing to build our credibility with these clients? How do we prove to them that we're the best in the marketplace? And look, money and cost is always going to be sensitive. We're not naive to say, if you just got great credibility, you can charge whatever you like. That's not true. But the more credible you are and the more valuable you are because your services are tailored to that client's need, the less that cost will be an impact to you. You've always got to be competitive. You've always got to be on the market. We all know that there's an upper and lower point, right? But there's always a few percentage points of margin in that upper and lower point. And the more credible you are, you're going to be moving up that food chain for that. And often, if you find that culturally you're engaging with a client that doesn't care anything about your value, doesn't care anything about how you help them and how you work with them over time, and all they care about is the bottom line, well, perhaps, other than your podcast name, perhaps it's time to get rid of them, right? Because they might not be a fit for you.
Yeah.
And they'll be a fit for someone else, and that's great, And but for you, you might say, here are my rules of engagement, and this is what I want to be able to do.
Yeah. One of the sales strategies that I have at Alexander Spence, I've never really done it, and it's something that I'd love to do, is we play in certain spaces really, really well with certain sectors, certain industries, and we've never really targeted certain clients we want to work with. We just do our thing. We have a really good, strong brand. We have good referral networks. We're great at, nurturing existing clients to buy more services that we know that we can help them with and they need. But I'd love to go, I look after a general practice, could be a medical practice or a dentist. I'm good at that. I'm making this up, by the way.
Yes.
I'm good at that. And then I want every single dentist in Camberwell. I'm going to target 3 dentists and I'm going to go in there. They probably have an accountant already. How do I go in there cold? Yes. They don't know who I am. They might look at me in terms of do some good researches and figure some stuff out, and we do some good stuff in that framework. But how do I go cold calling, targeting clients that I know I can help because I've done it before, I've got the credibility? How do I get that call? How do I target clients I want to work with?
This is where you need to do some investigation, first of all. You need to understand why your existing medical practice clients engage with you. Why do they do that? And we look at that and we say, okay, here's your general value proposition for medical, a general value proposition for medical. And then once you've understood what that is, you need to go and you need to understand the attributes specifically of that medical client where you're being successful. What are the services they offer to their clients? What are their other associated industries that they work in? And we work that out. And then we go and have a look at other medical practices which have similar or the same attributes as what our current one is. And then you've got your podcast. You've got a lot of, in our 4 Cs, you've got a lot of credibility.
Yep.
You've got a lot of capability. Am I doing this in industry, in region? Yes, I'm doing it to other medical practices in Camberwell. So that's going to give you a leg in where you've got where you go to see these other people. Control. What do you do that's unique? What does this medical practice that you're currently engaging with really value about your service? What is that one thing? Now, often people will say, oh, it's our people. Our people are the best thing. But it's rarely actually only your people. It's your people plus the way you do things that make you unique. And then you go and have a conversation with the people in that practice. Now, we look at people in every buying environment. There are three broad categories. There's the buyer, there's the beneficiary, and then there's the backer. And sometimes, particularly in smaller business, all three are wrapped up into the same person, right? So your buyer is your person who actually has the purse strings, who actually will sign the contract for you. Your beneficiary is the person who's actually going to get a benefit out of engaging with you. So that could be their accounting practice or their office keeper, their bookmaker or bookkeeper, not bookmaker. And then the backer is someone that has to think, how will we integrate Alexander Spencer into our existing infrastructure? How do I get them in? Is it going to cost me more money? How am I on a 4-year contract with my existing provider and I just can't get out of that for 2 years? So you've got to understand what that looks like, but you've got to cover all three of those people. And really what we find, a lot of people fail in their engagement with clients because the beneficiary is the one that always wants to talk to you. They'll spend a lot of time. They'll make you feel really comfortable. Oh, we love you with this. We like that. We like the way you do that. And they're actually not able to buy, and they're not actually thinking about how do I make this work in my environment because they just love it, right? So, and we spend less experienced salespeople spend all their time talking to beneficiaries because that make them feel good, and they do good coffee and they have lunch and they think I'm going really well, but you've missed the other two buyers, often other two personas in the business. Often they'll go and talk to a buyer because someone will say, who's got to sign this off? And they'll go, it's Mary. Mary's got to sign it off. Mary's the owner of the practice and Mary's got this. But then in the background, they've missed this backer and the backer says, we got a 4-year contract with XYZ. We can't do anything about that. Whatever. We use a different system to what they do. And so you've missed that. So you've got to cover off those three people. You've got to, just to recap, you do your research, you make certain you've got something to offer them. Now, the really interesting thing, as I said earlier on, is about a general value proposition. General value propositions only work to get the first meeting. You've got to really quickly find out the specific value proposition for that client. And I use an example. People go to buy a lovely Toyota 4-wheel drive, big 4-wheel drive, right? People go to buy it. It's a Toyota 4-wheel drive. It's basically one model that you've got, right? But my daughter buys it because it's got airbags and it's got clips on the back for the child restraining seats. Buy it for that. You might buy it because you're a mad 4-wheel driver and you're going to go and drive across the Simpson Desert. I might buy it because I want to tow a boat. Completely different value propositions, exactly the same car, right? So you've got to be able to say, what does my client need? Because if you come and try and sell me the baby restraints and the airbags, I'll go, boring. But it's the same car, right? And sell you the towing the boat. You go, I'm not interested in towing a boat. I want to go across the Simpson Desert. So this is where knowing your client is so critical and doing the research to go that. And that's what will help you open the doors to get in there first of all, and then close the deal will be that specific value proposition.
It's really solving the problem, right? It's going, what are the problems doctors have? How do accountants or how do we solve those problems? In a way that's unique. It's in a way that's value proposition. Because at the end of the day, they probably already have an advisor. We're going in there and going, we can do it better. We have a value, we have the experience. You go, okay, how do we get to the call? So the reason I ask that is I get lots and lots of LinkedIn emails. I don't know how they got my phone number. I get lots of phone calls. How do we get there? Now we know we can do it. We've done the homework. And now we've got to get to the 3 buyers or the first person, the backer and whatnot. We need to have a conversation. We've got the brand. We've got everything ready to go. Is it a phone call? Is it a knock on the door? Or how do we get that? How do we convert that?
So this is the tough thing. This is the shoe leather, right? This is where, and there is no secret bullet here. This can be tough. We find exactly the same. We know we're solving the biggest problem that clients, organizations have,
which
selling.
Is sales, right?
We solve that, and we solve it the best in the market, and we get people not calling us back. But it's a personal touch. It is not a generic touch. So you must, if you're going to do LinkedIn, you've got to be able to have that sequencing in your LinkedIn, and you've got to get to the personal touch. It's the phone call or the brave opening up the door and walking in. And of course, you can't then be a pest, right?
No, that annoys me.
It really annoys you, so you can't be a pest. You've got to be professional. And I'm probably not saying anything that anyone else would say, but it's got to be personal. It's got to be professional, and don't be a pest. That's my new 3 Ps that I've just worked out.
Yeah, I love it. Personal, professional, don't be a pest.
And don't be a pest, yeah.
I have to tell a story because I generally, busy person. We get lots of email marketing. So the things that I see is we get LinkedIn emails trying to sell. You get the phone calls on the phone. Generally, the phone calls are electricity, solar, private health, all that. I'll call that low value.
And pest.
And then we get email marketing. Just an email pops up on your inbox. Yeah. And what I find is that they're generally not giving me any value and how they're going to solve my problem.
Yeah, generic.
It's so generic that I'm like, I just deleted an archive because it also even looks like they've sent it to so many other people.
Precisely.
If I don't respond, I don't feel bad because I'm like, you don't even remember you sent it to me. I got an email once, and I hope he's listening, and I'm going to make him watch this podcast so he does listen. I got an email from, they're a payroll provider. So he was reaching out to accounting firms to promote that they can help our clients outsource payroll services. And that was what he was selling in essence. And I got this email from a random person. His name is James. And James had read my profile. He must have read my LinkedIn and so on. And he said, "Hi, Savan." I should find the email and read it. But pretty much high level, he said, "Hi, Savan. I'm reaching out to you. This is who I am. A beloved Hawthorn supporter, blah, blah, blah." And he kind of went into really knowing who I was.
Yes.
And he only subtly pitched his service. And he was really nice about wanting to have a coffee. I think he lived in the local area. He just knew so much about me that I couldn't just delete that email because he did so much work on knowing who I am. And I ended up responding. And my response was, "Hi, James. I get hundreds of email marketing campaigns and no one has ever put effort into getting to know who I am and why." And I rang him and I said, "Yes, you could have picked out of 5 partners to email this to, but you chose me. Why was that?" And we had a conversation and I've never I've kind of bought from him a little bit. He's at a different company now and we do some work with them, but we never bought. And I reckon I've had 4 or 5 lunches with James.
Yes.
We've become pseudo good friends only because he took the time and effort to get to know me. And what I loved about that was I was happy to have an engagement and a conversation. I had no idea whether he was going to solve my problems or whether I needed that service, but I wanted to give him the time that he gave me. And I think from a recipient of someone that's being sold to, I resonate with that. And I think that you lead with that. I love that you make the personal part of the P is really important.
You must make it personal. And those 2 value propositions, the general value proposition and the specific value proposition, you've got to wrap them up. You've got to be able to say, "I know you, I understand what you're like, I know the problems you're facing, and I can solve some of them." And that will get you, it's a very noisy market, make no bones about it. It's a very noisy market. And the generic email that has just gone out to a dear valued client or dear valued whatever, they just go, And we get them, we get LinkedIn advances all the time. You just got to get rid of them out of your inbox.
What about cold calling? So I've also got another client that does really, really well. And he's set up a call center in Australia.
Wow.
He's got a list of, and they sell mortgages. So their business is qualifying potential mortgage leads, someone that's got a home loan or looking at buying something. And they get lots of leads. Now, I've never really asked them the question I'm asking you.
Yeah.
How do you do cold calling? Now it's a random. "Hi, Andrew. My name is Savan. We're from XYZ. How do you then go bang? At that moment, how do you make them listen on a cold call?
So there's obviously, there's lots of mechanisms for getting those contact lists, those phone lists, to do that.
Yep.
You've got to characterize them. you've got to look at those contact lists and put them into locations and industries and ensure that your team are having that personal call, at least personal enough to be able to say, I'm calling you because you are in the medical industry and you're in Camberwell and we can offer you a unique service. You've got to have something that's going to catch their attention so that they at least say, oh, maybe you should tell me some more. But it's back down personal and professional. We're working with a client at the moment, a large global client at the moment, and they have a call center. And we are helping them break their clients down into client groups and create phrases that they can have when they pick up the phone to talk to a client, to talk about when they understand what their infrastructure is, what the likely problems similar clients to them are facing, and to be able to get that phone call underway. But again, anything generic will fail.
Yep.
Got to get it specific, got to understand the client. You've got to put the effort in to ensure that you're not just paying people to do 25 calls an hour, you're paying people to care about the client they're calling and to understand what their problems could likely be and have an opportunity to talk to them about that.
Is there a trick or a thing you can do with the post? I feel like people don't send out stuff in the mail anymore. Is there a technique to utilize sending out a letter, sending a gift? Is there stuff that you can do there? Do you have any ideas around that?
No, I don't have a lot of ideas, but I would keep coming back, make it personal. Make it relevant to that person who you are sending it to and don't have it generic. It would be the only advice I can give there. I've got no experience in that mail out area and the like in sales.
Yes. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's take it to another level. So we're now moving into a bit more of a digital world as AI. Geez, I'm getting phone calls from AI these days.
Yes.
Where do you see sales moving into the future? As long as, you follow the 4 C's and the frameworks, do you think that just is the way to go? Not the way to go. Is that the way that you just got to play, and then everything else is just the tools? Whether it's a bot, the bot has to follow the 4 C's. Whether it's a automated email or whatever it is there going to be difference in how we do sales in the future from where it's going?
Without a doubt, AI is going to revolutionize. And I think we could sit here right now and predict as far into the future as we can imagine, and next year we'll go and say, well, we got that one wrong, because AI it's here. So very interestingly, and we've seen that, my business partner and I, Sven, we have committed to building a platform, a generative AI platform that we've got our builder at the moment, In Time Tech, an American company we are currently building, and we are creating the 4 C's in a platform that clients will be able to subscribe to on a monthly basis. And the essential thing about it is it's going to be called your coach in a pocket. Okay. And it's going to walk alongside with the essence is it's friendly, it's compelling, it's interesting, and it's going to walk alongside the salesperson, giving them advice as to where they need to go. And we're calling it the next best move. So they'll come to a meeting and they go, I'm going to see Sivan. What is my next best move? Our coach is going to zoom off. It's going to check out Sivan's profile. It's going to have a look at that. It'll zoom through these podcasts and go, he's interested in that. He's never had one on sales before, doing these things. This is what will resonate with Sivan. Have these 2 conversations with him and then come back. We'll redo your right to win score, and then we will suggest your next best move. And the platform will automatically prioritize all of your deals and say, here are your top deals. This is your best one. This is this. This one's low. You've got to work on the credibility here. You've got to improve commitment. We're just got the business review sign off to do that today.
Wow.
Haven't done that. So that's really super cool. And we'll be moving forward with that platform builder now.
And continuing the journey of that business. So what's it going to be called? What's the launch of the product?
The launch is ImpactWon. That's our business name, ImpactWon. And the platform itself will be called Augmented Sales Intelligence.
Okay, awesome. And is it an app on the phone? Is that how it works?
Both a desktop app and a mobile app. So, and obviously your seller is going to be using the mobile app most of the time. They'll be in the cab on the way to the meeting, and they'll be able to go, I'm going to meet with
XYZ.
tell me what my next best move is. This is what's happening. This is where it is. This is an interesting thing. Government's just passed legislation about that. That's going to be an implication to people doing their BAS reporting, have that conversation.
Does it actually know me well? So does it know my products, my services? I'm assuming it's some form of AI built-in type of product.
So we've got about 21 AI agents which are going to run that.
Yeah.
And sort of describing the platform itself, in visual terms, there are 4 buckets of information that the product will rely upon. So there'll be 2 buckets of information which our clients will have within their own infrastructure.
Yeah.
So for security reasons, nice and secure. And that'll be all the really smart, clever things that you do as a provider of services. Yeah. And it will have the CRM information of your own knowledge of the deal. ImpactWon will have vast industry knowledge, and so in that industry knowledge, you'll be going to see Savan. We'll know what's happening in accounting. This is what's happening, and here are the trends in accounting. This is that. This is how businesses react, and here are the unique things that Savan does. So our seller who's trying to sell you outsourced payroll services will go, this is what's happening in the market. This is what Savan does. This is how I can marry those two together. Here's the conversation.
Love that.
Yeah.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
And I think I love the coaching element because you're making things that are available to people that they may not actually get access to, because consulting with humans and having that real access to real top-end talent consulting is hard to get and expensive.
Really challenging. And we call it solving the impossible knowledge dilemma.
Yeah.
Because right now, there are hundreds of pages of reports and the like that you need to be across. It's not possible to be across them. It's not possible to be across what was released on the news yesterday or whatever. Our platform is going to be able to collate that, look at it and say, forget 99% of this stuff. This is the stuff you should have a conversation about today because it will have the greatest impact and move your deal the furthest forward. The other amazing thing about this is that it enables the organisation to own the deal and the client, not the salesperson. So if a salesperson moves on, our platform it's all contained in the platform.
Yeah.
You can hire a new salesperson if you are or you can have a new consultant come in and go, here it is.
Love that.
And you're right to go straight away. There is none of this, you will have heard from your clients who do have salespeople, it takes 6 months for a salesperson to get up to speed. Well, at 100K a year or 150K a year for an average salesperson, that's a ton of investment to get them up to speed. Our platform's going to change that because they'll be up to speed day one.
Yeah. And if I was running a sales team, so for all the listeners out there that have a sales team, assume they follow the framework, what are the sales reporting techniques or sales reporting that you need to do with those people that are professional salespeople that makes them not work harder, but sell more, drive more?
Yes.
Is there a technique to drive sales inside? Do we gamify it? Do we need to put a scoreboard? Do we need to have unique incentive schemes? Take us through what I would need to do if I was running a sales team.
So running a sales team using the ImpactWon 4Cs methodology is really simple. Your deals are aligned by the next 0 to 3 months closing, 3 to 7 months closing out, and you can decide what you want. But they are then scored by the right to win score. So immediately you can look at deals that have got a low right to win score that are closing soon, that need to be worked on, and you can ensure that your salespeople are working on those deals to lift the right to win score, or you close the deal down, because if it's got a low right to win score and it's about to close, why invest more resources into it? So you need to manage your sales team based upon the right to win score. What a lot of organisations are doing today is they're using their CRMs, and the CRMs have a probability, and the probability is based upon the stage the deal's in. Now, it's just complete fantasy that if a deal is in the pipeline at qualified stage, the organisation may decide that it'll be rated at 25% because it's qualified, and then the deal's submitted and it goes up to 50%. It's complete fantasy that the deal has gone from 25 to 50% just because you've submitted it. The right to win score looks at where you are going to win. And so we say, stop managing your team on your progressing a deal through a pipeline progress. It's important to know where a deal is. Has it been qualified? Have you submitted the deal? Are you in negotiation? That's important. But manage the deal on its right to win and be doing all of your actions to improve the right to win. Yes, you can incentify, you can gamify. Our platform will have all those incentives and gamification built into it. Yet, sales teams are critical so that you bring a sales team together, make the salesperson more of a conductor of the business, not the owner of the business. Ensure that the CEO, the marketing, the solutions department are all involved in that deal and they will understand what their role is, and your overall win rate will go up because you're focusing on individual deals. And remember, I said that you can focus on an individual deal and you can fix one component of that deal that will then flow across into all the other deals that are weak in that same component.
Yeah. My last question, because we're running out of time, is let's say I'm recruiting for a salesperson and they've come in and we've got all these interview questions. What are the things you're looking for that goes, he's the one or she's the one, she gets it, she understands sales? What are the questions I'd ask? What am I looking for? Is it body language? Is it a firm handshake? What makes a salesperson a good salesperson? And how do I know that in an interview process?
Yeah, I love this question. We've developed the 7 competencies of a salesperson. We don't believe you need to read a resume at all. You don't need to, because anyone worth their salt is going to have a resume that's full of good deals, that they've always been a hero, that they've always exceeded their target, and you've got to ask yourself if you're a hero and you've always exceeded your target, why you're trying to change jobs. Great question to ask that one. There are 7 competencies of a salesperson that you must interview for. The 3 critical competencies out of that 7 are: interview for an investigator. How does this person investigate? How do they find things out? Interview for a brand advocate. How good are they at articulating the brand that they work for? Interview for a team player. How good are they at working in a team? There are simple questions to ask from that. Brand advocate, tell me about all the great things of the company that you're working at today, Andrew, please. And if that person can't say, I work at the best company, I do this, they do that, they do these great things, if they drop their head and go, I hate working there, they're not a brand advocate. No. You don't want them working if that's what they're going to be like for your company. Investigator, tell me what you did today to prepare for this meeting. Tell me how you found that information out. Tell me something that I only know about myself that you've found out through your investigations. Tell me how you've worked in a team. Tell me the last big deal you won. Tell me about how you brought the team in around you. These are powerful questions that if they can't answer them, do not hire them as salespeople. And then the other 4 are things like business acumen, leadership and ethics, solutions and sales, the likes. So that's those 7 competencies, and I'm happy to share that competency framework with any of your listeners if they want to reach out to me, because that is so powerful. The resumes, don't worry about the resumes.
Andrew, thank you so much for joining me on The Bottom Line. It's been a pleasure. I know you don't live in Melbourne, so you made a special trip for us. For those that don't know, CEO-Led Sales is your book, so you can get that from Amazon. So we're really excited to have you on the podcast and talk sales. You've shared so many wonderful tips and tricks and things to do to increase the business revenue. It is the bloodline, and if you get sales right, businesses flourish. So I want to say thank you for doing the work that you do and the effort you've put into the industry. And I wish you all the best with ImpactWon. And again, thank you for joining me on The Bottom Line.
Wonderful. Thanks, Ivan. It's been fantastic being here.
This is The Bottom Line, a show designed to help Australian businesses succeed. This podcast was produced by accountancy firm Alexander Spencer. At Alexander Spencer, we've been helping business owners realize their goals since 1952, and we play a pivotal role in developing, implementing, and supervising the business goals and strategies of our clients. To find out how we can help your business succeed, head to our website, alexanderspencer.com.au. To make sure you don't miss an episode of The Bottom Line, be sure to subscribe to or follow the show in your podcast app. And while you're there, leave us a 5-star review. It really helps others find the show. I'm Savan Tuna, and we'll be back next episode with more tips to help you transform your business. And that's The Bottom Line.